And he goes over there and he starts looking around. He finds rock and he throws it back into the forest where they were throwing the rocks from. And they're throwing rocks and the rocks keep on coming back. And all of a sudden, one of them saw one and they're all, oh my God, look at that. You see it? And the other one saw it too. And it was like a 12-year-old boy, Bigfoot, that was throwing rocks at him.
Hey guys, thank you for joining me back here again on the channel. Before we dive into this one, I want you to do those 4 really important things to help me beat the dreaded YouTube algorithm. Give this video a thumbs up, drop down in the comments box below to share your thoughts, theories and opinions. Subscribe if you haven't already, and share this content with like-minded friends and family. Now, without further ado, you know how we do. Kick back, relax, and enjoy.
A 80% believer, and then all of a sudden we see it and we're like, is it real? You know, did we just see what we saw? And so we both just sat there in the Jeep and we didn't really know what to do. We're just, you know, we saw what we saw. And as it went from right to left, it crossed a 2-lane logging road in 2 steps. Is it real? Is it real? Is it real?
Okay, so I made a bit of a schoolboy error today. As you've no doubt noticed, I'm out in my trainers because I've left my boots in the back of the car. So yeah, that's not good, but got to make the best of a bad situation, and I'm out regardless. And it's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great day. It's worth exploring, filming, and talking to you guys. So these long form videos, they seem to be really killing it, which is awesome. And weird as well, you know, I was wrong. I was totally wrong. I thought that everybody had short attention spans these days and nobody wanted to see me messing around with the camera or leaving in all those buts. Do you know when I'm talking? But you guys do like that. So, and the stats, the algorithm, sorry, not the algorithm, the analytics is showing me that you guys are enjoying these long form videos a lot more. So yeah, I'm going to keep doing that. It's really good, and makes my life easier as well. It's a lot less editing. Ooh, pheasant just flew out the trees. You guys have left loads of nice comments. Some people even saying that they like the sound of my voice and they can listen to me for hours, which I find really bizarre because I think everybody naturally just hates their own voice. But I think the funniest one was someone said that I was like the Bob Ross of the cryptid world. Which I'll take that as a very good compliment. He's got a smooth talking voice. But yeah, naturally I think we all hate the sound of our own voice. But it's just nice, and it's really interesting to see actually that I was wrong. And people don't really necessarily care about the videos being polished, you know, or cinematic too much. They just want to see content. They just want to see me out. That's something that's taken me a long time to get my head around. You know, I was there trying my hardest to be, polished. Really make sure that everything was brushed up on the edit side. And every little video that I was making was almost like a short documentary. And it's a lot of work. And I did that because I thought that that was the way to do it. But obviously YouTube isn't about being a videographer. It's not about being a cinema photographer either. It's about being engaging and being consistent. That's the main thing on YouTube. I'm gathering by these stats, is that you guys just like to see me out. You don't care where it is, what I'm doing, how polished the video is. Just me being out in these areas talking about these strange phenomena is what really matters. And the long form videos are giving you guys plenty more of that. So I think that's why it's working. It's really cold today. Not as cold as it has been. Like, we're talking -4 and 5 last week. I think now it's about 3 degrees. So a big jump in temperature, but it still really is cold. I'm holding the phone out in front of me now and my fingers are feeling it. I've got no real plan whatsoever. I'm just going to keep walking through this forest. I will set up at some point to talk to you guys. I've got some more email stories to share with you all, which hopefully you'll enjoy. A lot of positive feedback from the last email story regarding the Glimmer Man. Glimmer men always seem to do really well. People are always really interested in those kind of stories, as am I. You know, what the hell is this thing? How is it even possible that something is sharing this terrain with us that resembles the predator? That's weird to me, but yeah, fascinating stories. Like I said, I've got more to come in this video, so please, if you haven't already, do kick back, relax, and continue to enjoy.
Finally, the rocks stopped coming. And so we're all standing around the fire and we're just talking, and there was a big log sticking out of the fire, and Les kicks it, like just to like make the fire, you know, try to bring it up. And it just blazed up, and all these sparks in the air, you know how fire will do a campfire. And when that happened, this girl, Susan, was right next to me, and she goes, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "I see it too." And there was this like 8 foot tall, 4 foot wide freaking Bigfoot standing there, only about 35 feet away from us, right next to this tree, just standing there watching us.
So here in the national park where I am now, and all around the world in other nature reserves and wilderness areas, people report that these cryptids, Dogman, Bigfoot, and other weird things that have been seen are using sinkholes to remain hidden. Now, that would make sense because from a distance, even a short distance, it looks like the ground up into the horizon is just one flat plane, but in between that could be many different sinkholes where something can hide. And there are stories where people, especially young children, have been playing out in these areas, trying to make it back home on a night, and they've been navigating through these sinkholes, or around the sinkholes at least, and as I've passed one, they've looked down into the sinkhole and they've seen something stood there like a statue staring up at them as they're on the ridge of this sinkhole. So yeah, that's where the stories come from. People say that they do use them for concealment. Now, can you imagine how terrifying that would be? You're trying to get back home, the night has closed in quicker than you thought, so you're in a panic, you're rushing, you're trying to maneuver around these sinkholes, and you look down into one and there is a creature that you've never seen before in your life, stood there really, really still, as if it was trying to wait for you to pass by. That would be, oh my God, you would just want to die right there on the spot, I think. But anyway, just to prove the point, I'm going to show you how easy it is to disappear in such a short space of time with these sinkholes to hand. Until I'm not again. And that's it. That's how easy it is to jump off this track. Someone's walking down here. You jump down there. They're just going to carry on walking by, and nobody would be any the wiser. Now, if you add to the mix that it's nighttime, forget it. I'd be invisible. No one's going to go venturing off this track after dark, and nobody would even realise that there's a sinkhole there to investigate. So, very, very good way of achieving concealment without camouflage. And I'm guessing these things are camouflaged, but if they needed to get out of the way quickly, there's plenty of these things dotted around in places like this. So on one of the last videos, I think it was maybe the last one or the one before last anyway, I was having a discussion with you guys about how in most abduction cases, the extraterrestrials that people experience are humanoid. They have a head, 2 arms and 2 legs, and they stand up bipedally. I said in that conversation that very rarely do we hear of plasma beings or energy light beings. I mean, they do exist and those stories are out there, but they're very few and far between. We hear far more of the grey aliens and the reptilians and all these humanoids, like the Nordics, etc. And then while I was thinking that on the way home, I started thinking, what if there is a planet out there And the planet, or the beings of that planet, have become so evolved, so intelligent, so far beyond anything we can imagine, that they are just consciousness. And on this planet is just maybe a big city full of servers. They've uploaded their consciousness to this server. The planet has no human life that we can detect. It's just servers holding consciousness of thousands, if not millions, of people that inhabit that planet. And they could be anywhere. You know yourself, when you put a VR headset on, you don't have to be in the front room. You don't have to be in the bedroom. You can be on Mars. You can be on a spaceship. You can be fighting against multiple people in a war somewhere. Imagine that. Imagine a planet that has thousands, millions of servers that hold the consciousness of every single inhabitant on that planet. And yet we can't detect them. We just turn up and we see this machinery and we expect, or we say, wow, it looks like someone lived here a long time ago. The signs of life are the signs that life has been here. And we just, we move on thinking that life has been there but no more. When in actual fact, those servers on that planet have more life than we can ever imagine. It's just that they're all off doing different things in this virtual reality world that they've designed. Sounds far-fetched, but this could be something to think about. Lil, you seen any cryptids? Lily, where's the cryptids? Go find the cryptids. I'm only joking. Don't you dare go find the cryptids. I need you, man. So I was recently caught up in a debate online. I get caught up in too many of these, to be honest, but certain things rub me up the wrong way. And people not believing the existence of extraterrestrials is one of those things. Like, how can we be so small-minded? How can people have such a superiority complex that we can't even begin to imagine anything outside of us in the universe? That to me blows my mind. And yeah, so we was getting into this conversation / debate, and this guy was saying that there is no way that anything else other than humans could live on another planet out there in the universe. And if they did, it's almost astronomically impossible that they would resemble anything like humans. And basically, my thought process was, how can you be the measuring stick for everything in the universe? Well, because there are biological laws that govern everything. Yes, here on this planet, to us humans, and maybe as far as we know in the known universe, they do. But we don't even know how big the universe is. We don't know if those laws change from moon to moon, galaxy to galaxy. We just don't understand. And it really gets to me that people think that we have all the answers with regards to everything that's going on up there in the universe. And I say up there, it's not up there. It's up there, all around us, below us, and, in every direction. It's absolutely huge, just the bit that we know. With all the technology that we've got today, it's almost mind-blowing how big the universe is. So to think that we can be the measuring stick, to think that we have all the answers as to what life is capable of out there, off this planet, is, to me, the smallest mind you could ever possibly be walking around with. Like, if you are that close-minded that you think we are all that is, ever has been, and ever will be, is like, wow, that just blows my mind. And the reason we got onto this subject is because a lot of UFO abduction cases, people do come back and they report seeing humanoid creatures that resemble humans, but not quite. So they might have this colour skin, they might have black skin, they might be of an Indian descent, they might have facial features exactly the same as us, hair exactly the same as us, with 2 arms, 2 legs, standing upright, but their eyes might be like cats, like a cat's eyes. Or they might have a bit of scaly skin that comes around the jawline. Just little tweaks like that make them not quite human, but they're still humanoid. And these reports come in all the time. Whenever people see or are abducted, they do see the other creatures alongside these humanoids. They see the greys, the reptilians, and even robotics. things that resemble robots with intelligence standing alongside these human-looking beings. So this guy who said it was impossible, this guy who said that, you know, life has a certain structure that it has to follow and it can't step outside of those because of biology and the laws that dictate what can happen. We can't speak on behalf of everything. We can't say what nature can and can't do. We can't say that life has to evolve this way and it can't do anything different, because it's just so big. The possibilities of everything and anything happening out there are massive. At one point, and this wasn't even so long back, we assumed that exoplanets, so basically planets that could possibly harbour life, planets that are situated within the Goldilocks zone away from their star, their nearest star. We thought that those planets were almost like so few and far between that we would never find anything basically other than Earth that could harbour life. Well, now, thanks to the James Webb Telescope, we know that there's literally exoplanets everywhere, absolutely everywhere, and every sun up there as well that we look at, we assumed, you know, maybe had 1 or 2 planets, 3 planets. Now we know that every single star up there has a planet, or 30 planets, or 13 planets, and maybe even more. So yeah, we find new things out all the time, and to ever just stick your head in the sand and say, right, because this is what we think today, this is what it must be forever, is a really weird viewpoint to have. Things can change all the time. And those that say, well, it's scientific fact, there is no such thing as scientific fact. Scientific fact doesn't exist. There are leading theories that have been put together by experts, and I'm talking complete geniuses. Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton even as well. You know, these are really brainy people that have tried to disprove each other, and there's many more as well in the field. And what happens is when they can't disprove each other, that becomes the lead theory. That becomes the theory that sticks, but it's always open for a challenge at any time should new information present itself. So there is no such thing as scientific fact. There is just the most solid evidence that we've got at this point in time. But again, if someone steps forward in 10 years from now and says, well, actually, they were wrong because they didn't, you know, attribute this to the equation, and then it changes everything, that now becomes scientific fact. So yeah, speaking on behalf of everybody in the universe and what nature is allowed to do is insane. Just because laws are governed here on Earth, and for as far as we can see in the known universe, who knows what is governed beyond the known universe? Who knows how big beyond the known universe is? You know, it's just a really stupid thing to say, is that life elsewhere can't exist, and if it does, it's impossible to look like humans. Please rethink that thought process. People are going to challenge me on this, and that's fine. I guess that's what this channel is all about, is healthy conversations, people being able to express themselves in a real, polite, mature manner with no hate, right? So yeah, do comment below.
Yeah, I've been scared before. A lot of people assume that, you know, I'm out here brave, don't ever get fazed or shook by anything, but actually I've been scared. And one of the questions that people ask me a lot is, do you ever get scared when you're out there alone, on your own in the dark? My answer is this: I get scared if I'm out there and I'm not alone in the dark. That's when it's scary.
So I was listening to a podcast and they was talking about the peaks and troughs of cryptid movements. You know, a lot of people seem to see cryptids at certain months of the year as opposed to other months of the year when sightings really drop off. And they came to the conclusion that this is the time of year these creatures migrate, and that's why people are seeing them on the move, because they're migrating. The problem I have with that is you've instantly made this flesh and blood. Migrating is a very human, earth-like, animalistic type trait. And when you say, or when you pin that type of behavior to something, you've made it flesh and blood. You've made it an animal. You've told people that it's probably been seen more at this time of year because they're on the move and this is the time they migrate. I have no problem with them migrating. I have no problem with them being flesh and blood. I'm open to all and any ideas as to what this creature may or may not be. But you can't say this is the migratory period, and that's why people are seeing them more, because if we look at it in depth actually the drop-off period when people are seeing them less is winter. And it makes sense, right? Because far less people are going to be out in snow that comes past your waist. Far less people are going to be able to get down these back roads in vehicles with bad weather and ice. So yeah, you're going to see far less of these things in harsher times of the year. And that's where I had the problem, because they instantly made out like they were migrating. And that instantly pins animalistic traits to something we know nothing about. Like I've said, I have no problem with them being flesh and blood. I have no problem with them migrating if that's what they do. But I don't think these peaks and troughs of when they're seen and when they're not seen has anything to do with migratory, traits. I think it's to do with the weather conditions. When most people are out is when most sightings are going to happen, right? It just makes sense. But yeah, to start using words like they're migrating and that's what's happening, we're ruling out so many other possibilities. We're ruling out the extraterrestrial theory. We're ruling out the interdimensional theory and everything else that comes with it. Now, people might say, well, that's a bit woo. Listen, we're talking about a creature that hasn't been physically proven with every bit of technology we've got today. So the thing is woo already. Yeah, let's stop labeling things. Let's stop. Theorizing is good, right? We can all theorize. We can all say, I think this, I think that. When it gets really not right or not okay is when people start saying, this is why, that's how. We just don't know. We don't know. We don't. You know, around the world, there's far bigger plantations, far bigger forested areas than here in the UK. But my God, I think that we'd be very hard to beat when it comes to atmosphere. A lot of these ancient forests here in the UK just have a real folklore type vibe. You can almost envision like fae folk or some kind of elfish people that live off the land in these places. It's unreal sometimes, especially when you get this low-lying fog that drifts through the trees. And you can see, when you're walking through these areas, you can see fully why people have thought up the idea of fairies and elves and gnome people. And I'm not saying that they're not real or they don't exist, because people sometimes do swear they've seen these things. But you just have to look at this environment. It looks like something straight out of a book. Like a fantasy, folklore, mythological type book where these creatures would exist. It's completely fascinating. Especially when you get into the mossier areas where it's all green. Sometimes you get openings in the canopy and light is allowed through. So in those areas on the ground, it's very, very green and lush. And then only a few feet off to either side, it's dark, dense forest again. So it does get the imagination going. It really, really does. And that's partly why I like being out here. That's partly why I enjoy exploring. You never know what's around the next corner. I guess the question is, does anything else enjoy exploring these areas the same way that we do? My guess is probably yes. If it's fascinating to me, and I'm a native Terran of this planet, then it's going to be fascinating to anyone else that's visiting, stopping by, or hidden away here on this planet. It's going to be fascinating to them as well, 100%. I'm confident of that. But we're going to head out now into this green little patch here, which is kind of what I was just trying to talk to you guys about. You see where I am now? It's really dense, and the trees are really tightly knit together. But then a few feet in front of me, you're going to see in a second, it opens up, and it's almost like this little paradise of green, lush vegetation, moss everywhere, wild grass growing, and yeah, it's beautiful. We have a lot of forested areas like this where you could just bring a book, right? You could bring a book, if it's a warm day, obviously. If it's a warm day, you could bring a book. You could create the most fantastical story imaginable, because here, I mean, if you can't get inspired in a place like this, if you can't think up some kind of strange story of small creatures living in and amongst the moss or the hollows of the trees, then I don't know where you would be able to get inspiration. And again, you know, I'm always of the mindset, I'm always of the standpoint that I don't rule anything out, absolutely nothing. So people might be like, oh, well, if you believe in the paranormal, then you must believe fairies. Absolutely. But believe is a strong word. Believe means that I'm saying, yes, they do exist. And I'm not quite there yet. What I'm saying is that I believe the possibility that anything is possible. I believe that I don't have all the answers. I believe there's things outside of my knowledge that may exist. That's what I'm saying. So when people try and back me into a corner and they're like, oh, well, you believe in extraterrestrials, so therefore you might as well just say you believe fairies. No, I believe in extraterrestrials because I believe I've seen one. So therefore, them existing is strong in my belief system. I don't quite believe in fairies to the same degree because I've never seen them. However, I believe that it could be possible for something to live outside of my knowledge that I'm aware of. So they're never going to pigeonhole me, ever. I've had it so many times, you know, like on podcasts, when I go on podcasts and stuff, and they always try and get me to sound stupid. I don't know why that is. It's just a really weird thing that in these genres that you'll find, if you are part of these genres, if you are a content creator or, you know, you're a podcast host or whatever it may be, you run some kind of a show talking about these subjects, you'll have experienced this. You go on certain podcasts, certain TV shows, whatever it may be, and they try to make you look stupid, even though they're in the same field, which is really weird to me. You know, you'd think that everybody would have everybody else's back in this genre, because to everyone else in the real world, we're the idiots, right? So we need to come together and look out for each other, but it's not that way. It's not that way. But yeah, every time I know where the conversation's going, every time I know when they're trying to set me up with loaded questions, I have to reel them in, and I have to say, look, you're trying to get me to say something that I don't believe here, or you're trying to get me to put it in a way that makes it sound like I do. Yeah, and I guess that brings me to this point of never sway from what you believe. And if you do believe in faith folk, if you do believe in known people, because you've had an experience, then you stick to that, because that is your reality. That is what's real to you, and nobody else will be able to relate because they haven't had that experience. You have. And so forget everybody else, forget everybody's judgment or ridicule. They'll never understand it until they've experienced it. And I've had that happen to me, where, you know, even if I talk about paranormal things to a non-believer of that phenomena, it's going to be hard for them always to understand what I've seen and what I've been through, because they haven't. And that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly acceptable. I'll never try and force my beliefs on anybody. You know, I'm not a religion. I'm not going to do that. People are welcome to believe what they want. People are welcome to judge me however they need, if it makes them feel better. But for me, these things are real. The extraterrestrials and UFOs, definitely real. I've seen them, and the paranormal as well. I've seen and experienced these things firsthand in ways that defy anything I know in terms of logic and science. Mental, absolutely mental. But yeah, I'm just rambling now, guys. Again, this is a raw video. This is what you get. Benjamin out in the woods, talking a load of bollocks, probably. But you guys like it, so here I am, man. Here I am. I've just had the weirdest smell. There's forestry work going on nearby. Obviously a few mile away from where I am now, but I can hear the chainsaws. Yeah, this smell, I don't know what the hell that is. It's just literally like a wall of smell. Could be a rotting carcass around here somewhere, I guess, but it doesn't smell like death. It smells like you know, peat. Dry, muddy, soily, earthy smells. It smells like that, but really, really strong, like pungent. Weird, because literally a few steps back that way, nothing. A few steps back this way, nothing. But really here, it's really strong. Really strong. Bad smells, eh? Bad smells. People always talk about these bad smells with cryptids, don't they? They always say about how they smelt something first and then they saw it exit the forest or approach them in a clearing. Why would these things smell? Why are bad smells reported across all phenomena, whether it be paranormal? You deal with poltergeist cases long enough, you'll know that a trademark of the poltergeist phenomena is bad smells. If you look into enough alien or UFO abduction cases, you will know that lots of people black out due to bad smells right before the point of abduction. You'll have heard the bad smell come up in cryptid, like I've just spoke about Bigfoot scenarios. Bigfoot would be explainable if that creature is rolling around in the earth, in swamps to try and camouflage its scent. You know, like dogs do that. When you see a dog rolling around on the floor, it's not because he's having the best time of his life, it's because he's found something like fox poo to hide and camouflage his own scent. What they do is they rub themselves in other scent to try and get closer to the game that they're trying to catch. And if Bigfoot's doing that, that would make sense why he smells. But it's just started raining. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that, but I don't really care. It's beautiful. I'm gonna go stand out in the rain, in fact. Can you see this coming down? Oh man, it's so refreshing. I'm actually not cold now either. Now it's started raining. It's quite warm. Lily, come. Good dog. So just while the rain's coming down, I'm going to try and push back into the more overgrown stuff. Not really brought a shelter with me, and I don't want to get soaked through just yet, or if at all. So yeah, I'm just going to push in. It's a lot easier and out of the rain here. Trying to let me just take a picture of my beautiful dog. Look at this. What are you doing, girl? What are you doing? Good dog, Lily. You're a good dog. Sorry, I was just showing some appreciation to that beautiful girl. What was I saying? Oh yeah, just trying to find somewhere to sit down to share these email stories. I think one of which I've already told before. Like I've said, I've just created this folder. I'm putting stories in there. I should create two folders, right? I should create one folder for stories to go in, and then once that story's been told, I should create another folder to put them in, and then I know they've been told. But one of the stories is fascinating, and I'm not really going to retell the story. I'm just going to talk about aspects of what happened because I find it mind-blowing and creepy as well, like real creepy. So yeah, I'll be telling you a bit about that one that's already been probably told. Some of you guys won't have heard it, so it will be new to you. And then I'll be telling you about a really fresh, new email story that's come through. I'm pretty sure you're all going to really enjoy. So there was a story that came, I think, I could be wrong with this one. It either came into me or I've read it. It was a long time ago, but anyway, the details of the story are what I find really, really fascinating. I'm just going to straighten this camera up because I can see that I'm kind of on a slant, and that's really annoying and messing with my OCD, so here we are. Yep, so this story basically was of this guy. He'd gone to bed one night, locked everything up, all the lights are out in the house. Typical start to a creepy story. Lived out in the middle of nowhere on some little ranch, surrounded by acres and acres of land, nothing around for miles. During the night, at some point, he's woken up by a disturbance and he hears somebody or something rummaging around downstairs. Now obviously, as most people would, he believes that he's been burgled. There's somebody broken in, which doesn't make sense, because why would someone have made the effort to go all the way out there to rob this guy who potentially would be armed, living on his own in the middle of nowhere? But anyway, he hears this disturbance and he proceeds to venture downstairs. When he gets halfway down the stairs, he looks through the banister into the living room, and over at the fireplace is a little creature, something weird looking that doesn't make sense. He thinks he's dreaming, he panics, he makes a noise. This creature turns around and spots him stood there halfway up the stairs. Now this is the really interesting bit, is where the creature was stood. It was looking at the mantelpiece, and on the mantelpiece was a picture of, I believe, his nephew or some member of his family. This guy said that instantly, when it realised that it had been detected, it morphed into the person on that picture. That is a very interesting detail to me, because why would it do that? Why would a creature, if it had the ability to morph into anything it wanted, morph into the picture on the mantelpiece of someone in your family? Well, if he feels like he's made that transition quick enough, you might not be as afraid. If it's someone that you feel close to or you can relate to, then you're more likely to be just concerned rather than aggressive as to why that person's in your house. So in terms of intelligence and, you know, things beyond our comprehension, that is just mind-blowing to me, that in seconds this creature was able to turn itself into someone it thought would alleviate the situation, the tension. And it seems to me that that's what they want. They don't seem aggressive. They don't seem like they want confrontation or conflict in any way. I mean, if you look at the Travis Walton case, when Travis jumped up off the table and started flailing his arms everywhere, what did they do? They backed off slowly with their hands up, which is a universal sign, basically, to say that we aren't a threat. And they left the room. This happens all the time. Whenever we freak out, whenever we become aggressive towards them, they somehow seem to simmer the situation and show us that they mean no harm. I mean, not all of them, don't get me wrong. There are cases out there where people do get hurt, where people do go missing, where people are actually, I hate to say it, killed by creatures or weird situations under weird circumstances. These stories do exist, however, they are the exception. Most times, the creatures are trying to simmer the situation. They don't want it to elevate any further. They don't want to scare us any more than we need to be, if that makes sense. So I just thought I'd share that story with you, because waking up through the night to something rummaging around in your house that is like nothing you've ever seen before, what do you do? Where do you go? Do you turn around? Do you run upstairs? Do you get back into bed and pull the covers over you? Do you try to communicate? What is the reaction of most people in that situation? Because I just don't know what I would do. And I think by the minute you've seen it transform into someone in your family, that's a game changer. You know, you're not dreaming at this point. Yeah, really, really weird stories that, which one that's always stuck with me because I thought that this creature being able to do that was a really cool move. The next story that I want to share with you guys is of a man that wants to remain anonymous, and I fully understand why. And again, whenever I'm reading these stories, I have to make it clear that these are just literally memorised a few minutes when I get signal, and then I come into the woods and I sit down and say the stories off the top of my head. Now, I am going to get names, dates and times, things like that, because I am terrible with those things in normal life. I'm going to get those things wrong sometimes. So these stories are very loosely retold. However, I do have a pretty good memory, so most of the bulk of the story will be accurate. This guy wants to make it very clear, you know, he's in his 70s now, that he's lived a very normal life, has no addiction to drugs, drink, you know, has suffered no abuse to the hands of anybody else. Very good upbringing. This guy has wrote to me in confidence, wants to remain anonymous, putting it out there, no addictions, no abuse to the hands of anybody else. This story is 100% true according to this person and the people involved. Basically, when he was younger, sorry, I'm just checking if that's a tick. No, it's not. When he was younger, him and his sister, his younger sister, would go to bed on a night and they would not be able to sleep for lights coming through the bedroom window. This happened a number of times over many, many years. Now, the parents would try to come into the bedroom, they'd try to see these lights for themselves. They put it down to night terrors because the kids would be terrified by the way these lights were in the room, lighting up the room, and usually pinpointed on their beds. Now, one of the weird things is that the light wasn't outside, always. Sometimes they would come in the bedroom. Sometimes they would hover in between both beds. The room would illuminate with a huge flash, and the next thing the kids know, they're waking up and it's the next morning. They've slept in maybe 10, 11 hours. That is a weird thing, right? That's a weird thing to experience for any child. But he started to get scoop marks out of his skin. Now, if anybody doesn't know what scoop marks are, Google UFO scoop marks and you'll see signs throughout the UFO phenomena of where people have had surgically precise scoops of skin, as if someone's got a very small ice cream scoop and just scooped out the flesh from their skin. And it scars almost instantly. Weird. This guy's had no medical history of procedures taking place around his body where these scoops are. But he also has nightmares of being taken as well. Something that he thought he shared by himself. Until years later, he was telling me in the email that there was a party or a family get-together where he sat down, you know, as people do, they start recollecting on things that happened when they were younger and stuff. And it turns out that his sister remembers the light, but she also, although she never had the scoop marks, remembers being taken from her bed. When she spoke to him and he spoke to her, their stories pretty much aligned up. However, they never saw each other. This is the weird thing. So he says that when he was aboard what he's calling a craft, and I'm saying that word loosely because we don't know where he was. He doesn't remember going on to a craft. He just remembers appearing in a room that he assumes is a craft. But he said that he saw other people sat there. There was a corridor and there was other people naked, of all ages, of all shapes and sizes, sat in this corridor. He never saw his sister. She says the exact same thing. She was in a corridor. She saw people sat in what looked like a bit of a waiting line, naked, but she never saw her brother. I don't know how these things work. How do they make people forget the experience? You know, when we go and we get put to sleep, a lot of the time we don't remember what happened to us. We don't remember the procedure taking place. Maybe it's a form of that, anesthetic. Maybe it's a form of, I don't know, but it's a weird scenario. Something else that this guy mentioned in this story was when he'd wake up, he'd often wake up with his jammers on back to front. Again, very strong signs of an authentic UFO alien abduction. This happens all the time, and it doesn't have to be clothes. It doesn't have to be specifically them getting clothing on the wrong way. It can be anything. If we look at the Allagash incident, the guys there lit a fire that should have lasted all night. When they got back, it was burnt down to embers which didn't make sense because they'd not been gone, in their mind, that long. When they got back, they were also holding fishing rods. They were also doing the things that they were doing before they were taken. The only difference is they were in the water doing that. These creatures don't get things right all the time. They don't. They try to put us back in positions. They try to make everything as normal as possible. Again, probably to alleviate the fear factor. Now, I'm not saying that they're not doing dreadful acts or some of the procedures they're putting people under isn't a pleasant experience. What I'm saying is that they're trying their best, at least, to make us not remember. And this is going to be so weird for me to say this, but if you ever are abducted, if you ever have a dream and you feel like you're being abducted, or you're experiencing an abduction, and for somehow, some way, you're consciously aware of what's going on at that time, try to memorize every detail. Again, I'm saying this knowing that it's going to be impossible. You're going to be absolutely terrified. You're having the worst experience that anyone can ever imagine. But I just look at the Travis Walton case and I think, when he picked up that tool, when he backed up into the corner away from these creatures and he picked something up and he started to swing it back at them and they left the room, he was now holding something of extraterrestrial origin in his hand. The first human ever to possibly touch a tool made by alien hands. Could he not have put that in his pocket? Could he not have looked at that? And I don't know, like, we need to try and fight off whatever kind of telepathic energy or force they're using against us to make us forget. Again, I've never been in that situation. That might be impossible. Fascinating stories. And to the guy that sent me that story in, thank you so much. I 100% believe you. I know you was worried about writing that message in, that email. And if you do have a story you want to share with me, guys, here on the channel, 401files@gmail.com. Get those stories sent in. Like I've said, I can't guarantee that I can read everybody's out. It's not personal. They will go into a folder and I will eventually get around to reading them at some point here on the channel. Thank you. This for Lil. Good dog. It's a good workout. Oh my god. Why do I make stupid noises like that? Like, oh my god. This is what happens when you get out on your own. You talk to yourself and you do stupid shit that you wouldn't do around people. Oh man, oh man, oh man. There I go again. Stupid voices. I'm out. I'm out of the forest. Thank you, Jesus. Lightning strike. Right, guys, the rain is still coming down. I'm getting soaked to the bone. So I'm going to make my way back to the car now. But it's been an absolute pleasure to be joined by all of you. And I really genuinely do mean that. Thank you for all the lovely comments. The support here on the channel is amazing. I know these videos are longer. You guys have been crying out for them to be longer. So hopefully I'm not annoying anyone too much. But thank you for making it this far. And if you have made it this far, drop down below with an alien emoji to let me know as well. So take it easy, guys. As always, stay safe wherever you are in the world. Look after yourselves. And if you are in a position to do so, then please, 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 do look after somebody else as well. Peace.
Bye.